Hey everybody, welcome back to Therapists Unmasked. I'm Ashley.
I'm Sam, and today we are joined with the lovely Fernanda, who talks about the behind the scenes of being a case manager and how that affects her mental health.
We hope that you enjoy the episode, and let's roll the intro.
Hello, how are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm amazing. I'm so happy to have you here.
I'm excited.
Can you please introduce yourself?
Yes, my name is Fernanda. I'm a case manager for the immigrant population.
That's amazing. I love it. So how long have you been doing this?
I'll be doing this for a year.
Oh, okay. How do you like it so far?
I love it.
Yeah.
So much better than I expected. I don't know, it's just been so fun, exciting, and eye-opening. And inspiring, I should say.
Okay. So I know, but no one else knows, what is your educational background?
Yeah, so I have my Bachelor's of Science in Psychology. I went to school in New York, and then I started my graduation post-grad / journey while I was in undergrad, and that was towards teaching. So I was going to be a certified elementary school teacher. COVID hit, some other things happened, I stopped studying, and then now I'm applying for my Master's of Social Work.
That's really interesting because
Yeah.
it's a change from being a teacher, from wanting to be a teacher to wanting to be a social worker. So tell us how you kind of came into that mentality of wanting to switch careers, because I know for me at least, I would have been very anxious with that idea.
Yeah.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I felt every emotion that I feel like you could have experienced. Literally since I was in kindergarten, I feel like I always said, I'm going to be a teacher. Like that was it. I felt like it was decided for me. It was easy for me. My mom's a teacher. A lot of people in my family are teachers. I admire teachers. So that was like it. And I never really looked at any other career. And I was just like, cool, like beelined it, tunnel vision, straight teaching. I wanted to be with kids and I wanted to help. Mm-hmm. That was it. So I was like, duh, teaching is the best way to do that. And then I went through the schooling and I, got to work in different schools, probably like over, 10 schools I must have been in or observed or taught in, substituted in, paraprofessional, and then
wow.
Yeah, so it was like, I was like, well, this is it for me.
That's it. That's
yeah, and like you would ask anyone, they'd be like, yeah, like Faye is gonna be a teacher. Like we've known this, we've been known. Like don't ask her. So then, I really didn't expect a career change. I didn't see it in my future at all. But most things that happen are unexpected. Most good things, at least in life, I feel like lead you into a new path. So I was finally teaching. I was at a dual language school. I was a 5th grade teacher. I was teaching in Spanish, which was new. And I was like, this is it. Like, I made it. Like, I'm a full-blown teacher now. Like, I had a classroom. I had my own students. And I was like, this is so cool. I get to email parents. And like, I get to decorate my classroom. And I was like, this is sick. And then slowly but surely, the layers of the onion started to peel back, and I was like, this is not what I expected at all. Like, I went from one school district that was really great and really amazing, supported the family, supported the teachers. I really didn't see teacher burnout there. And now I was teaching in another city, bigger school district, and it was the complete opposite. And that was kind of like where in my world, or my bubble, if you will, like popped, and I was like,
you were exposed.
No, thank you. Like, this is not it.
Yeah.
And that's where I led to, exploring different options. And it seemed that social work was the answer.
Okay. So how do you like the world of social work?
I love it. I didn't think, I don't know if I didn't know that I didn't like it. I think I just didn't know enough about it. Mm-hmm. Because I was so tunnel vision, I didn't explore any other career. Like, yeah, you teeter with like, what if I'm a lawyer one day? Or like, yeah. What if I'm just like in corporate? And I was like, no, thank you. But like, it was always like, nah, like I'm so comfortable. And now it was like, you know, like, I don't know. It's like when they say like, don't meet your heroes because like you could be let down. I felt that way with teaching. Like I was like, oh my God, my career, like that I thought was great isn't so great. But for me, like, not that it's not a great career, just for myself. And I think what my bigger aspirations perhaps were. So social work, I didn't know anything about. But I always just wanted to help people. So I called one of my mom's like close friends who I know was in the field. I was like, hey, funny thing happened. I'm not gonna go back and be a third grade teacher. I want to explore social work. Like, can you just like, can we meet up? Like, I want to know more about it. Like, I don't know, just like guide me, please. Like, SOS. And she was like, you know what? We have a position open at the nonprofit I work at. She was like, I know you well enough. I think this is going to be perfect for you. And it's going to be like a good, like, dip your toes in and then you can decide if this is truly for you. And that's truly what this past year was. It was like learning, you know, what it means to be in social work or anything to like help the community overall in the nonprofit world. You know, what it means to be a case manager. And I was like, damn, this is what I think I was seeking, but I didn't know there was a name and a career to it.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how that trajectory happened.
So tell me a little bit about how working with immigrants as one yourself has helped.
Yeah, I think it's made all the difference. And I don't think I could do what I'm doing if I were not an immigrant or a daughter of immigrants or surrounded by immigrants or exposed to the community, if you will. You know, I was born in Chile. I was not born here. I'm a naturalized citizen. I immigrated when I was 4 with my family, and, you know, I was so little, so I didn't really get to see, like, my parents struggle, if you will. Like, you know, in the eyes of a 4 and 5-year-old, I'm starting kindergarten, I'm learning a new language, I'm living my life.
Yeah.
So then afterwards, you know, when we're, like, older, like, when your parents start kind of revealing or kind of, like, unveiling, you know, what they experienced, I just remember being like, oh my God, you guys are so brave, like, you guys are so cool, and everyone that we know did the same thing, and they were like, not the same, but everyone took this leap of faith of we're leaving our comfort zone, we're leaving our countries, we're leaving our families, and we're gonna try to explore the American dream. And so I was like, oh my God, you guys are sick. Like, that's so cool. So, of course, as things go, that comes out of the excitement comes the fear or the reality of the immigrant experience. So then slowly it was, you know, I don't know, my dad telling me how he was spit on, I don't know, treated terribly. Oh my God, it's gonna make me emotional because immigrants go through so much, and it's never, it's a thankless thing. You're never recognized. So I think going into this career, I was like, oh my God, I'm doing it for my parents.
Aww.
And I didn't realize that. And excuse me, I'm crying.
No.
But I think I didn't realize it because it was like my thank you to them. It was like my letter of appreciation, if you will. What I do with my participants and what I do with everyone I meet every day, it's like with them in mind. Like, you guys are so cool. Like, you guys are so brave. You guys are, I don't know, so resilient to embark on something that's terrifying. And in a country where you're not welcomed, like, you're not treated the same or even remotely like a U.S. citizen or like someone who was born in like U.S. soil, right? Like it's just never gonna be like that. And I think now in like the line of work that I am, I get to see all these people who last week they just crossed the border. Wow. Or like literally a month ago, they were like in the Darien Passage, their son almost drowned. And now I'm seeing them, like I'm touching them, I'm getting to hear their experiences, which I think is never shown. At least it wasn't shown to me in my years of schooling. It wasn't shown to me when I was in college. I feel like it's this like taboo subject until you're really in it. And I think that's been like so cool because it's like, and I think you guys expressed this in your first episode of like when you're falling upon your career, you're like, oh my goodness,
Yes.
there's all these things we haven't talked about. We don't talk about mental health. We don't talk about trauma. We don't talk about the Latina experience. We don't talk about grief. We don't talk about these things. And it's like, why not? They're so real, and they're so real to so many people. So I'm excited that you guys are doing this. I think it's so cool. Two badass Latinas, I don't know if you can curse, sorry. Working in the mental health field, bilingual, which is the greatest gift I think our families could have given us.
Definitely.
So it's cool. I don't know. I think it's just so exciting, and I think I was putting myself in a box of comfort, and I was like, yeah, like teaching, like it's comfortable to me, and I know I can be a good teacher, and I have the tools to do so. And if not, then I have an amazing woman who happens to be my mother, who's one of the best teachers ever. So I was just like, I can copy you.
Her mom, I was having a really like a good conversation with her mom the other day in the car, and her mom has so many degrees. I was like, I'm literally like, I want to be you when I grow up. She has studied so much.
Yeah.
She's accomplished so much. She studied her ass off while in Chile, and she continued everything here. And it's like, oh my god, like she's a rock star. She's awesome.
Yeah.
So
literally.
I understand why you look up to her so much.
I know. She's like,
And Fernanda, can I just tell you, like, just to see your tears and just how passionate you are about this, like that literally makes my heart so happy because I love meeting other people who are passionate about what they do. So like when you see these clients, is it like a back-to-back thing? Are you...
Yeah, so it really depends. They truly, like, were deemed like, I don't know, I guess like a hub for immigrants, like in our community. So literally if like they go to school, they're like, you're an immigrant, like you just got here, go to them. Or like, you know, I had people who bumped into each other at the train station. They're like, hey, you just got here, or you're an immigrant of whatever, you know, race, creed, religion, go there. So that's kind of, so we just have people constantly walking in through our doors from, you know, every continent possible, every country, every background. And then typically, you know, they'll either come to me or my coworkers, or they'll go to like our English classes and things like that. So once they come in and once they have an appointment with me, like I just go through and I'm like, hey, like what do you need? Like how can I support you? And then through the hour-long conversation, you know, I find out they're sleeping at the hotel, for example, or, you know, they have a daughter who's not enrolled in school, or perhaps doesn't have health insurance yet, or, you know, they've been here for 20 years and they just got their a green card, or, you know, they just got naturalized and now they're like, I know I can access things, but how the hell do I access them? That's where I come in. So I try to bridge the gap. It's really educating, which is in line with what I love, but at the same time empowering them. Like, you have rights. You have, there's, you know, organizations set up to help you. Like, there's people whose job is to hopefully make your life a little less stressful while you're here. So that's kind of like what happens, right? So like I said, I'll have a couple people who, a week, who, I don't know, just got here less than a month ago. Or I'll meet like a grandma who has been here for 40 years. And it's come time to where she's like, I don't know what to do. Like, all my birds flew from the nest and now I'm broke and now I'm getting evicted. What do I do? And I was like, like, you know, so it's really like, I'll see everything. And I think the beauty of that is like, I can at least give them something, which is a smile and knowledge. And that's, you know, what we're there for. And then we'll supplement other departments. The English classes, if you need help, you know, looking for work, will help you. If you, I don't know, perhaps you did construction in your home country, you want to do it here, cool, we can get you your OSHA certification. We have pro bono lawyers, so like, you know, you're a victim of domestic violence. You know, you have a right to a U visa, let me get you connected with a lawyer. So we try to do like a wraparound service. It sucks when we don't get to do like everything possible because I'd love to, but at least like you have a community, you have the support, and you have the information and knowledge to kind of make your integration into the community a little bit better. So that's like kind of the purpose of our organization and really like the root of like my work.
No, it's really interesting hearing like when we talk about our jobs in general, because something that they didn't teach us is about working with immigrants. We know the general information, but when it comes to immigrants, I'm completely lost.
Yeah.
And I'm a daughter of immigrants myself, so that's information that I also want to learn.
Yeah.
Right, and so you hear about their situations all day, right? And you say that you do these things with a smile. But does it take a mental toll on you at all?
Oh yeah, 100%. I would be lying if I said it didn't. I think Sammy saw this a little bit more, and if you ask my family, they'll they'll be like, the amount of times they've asked me, "Are you sure? Like, are you certain? There's a way out."
My family still does that.
Mine too.
Yeah.
Mine did that specifically yesterday.
And I think it's only natural. I think because I don't know, not that to like dismiss them, but just saying like general population, there's these crisis situations, scenarios, lived experiences. It's only natural to be like, whoa, how do you handle it? And it's like, well, if you threw me in the emergency room, I'd stand there and be useless. Like, how does a doctor do that? How does a vet do that? So I think we could say that for every career.
That's
true. But I think, like, what you guys always go to is, like, it's not talked about enough about, like, the secondary trauma that we experience.
Absolutely. Hearing
these stories. So it's like, they leave feeling so good. They just got some new advice. They just discovered a little bit more about themselves. They feel like someone heard them. Like, they're leaving. Like, they're skipping out of my organization. And I'm sure they do the same thing with you, not in all scenarios, but that's the idea, right? Yes. That's what we want to leave them with. And then you're sat there like...
Like, what did I just listen to?
I just got by a truck. A boatload of information, and now
you have to sit with it.
And now your mind has to process it for a little bit, and then you only have a little bit of time to process it yourself before you go into like go mode.
Yeah, and then you have the next one who has like an even worse story. I don't know. So I think that part is like really hard. So I think I can't say like this doesn't affect me. It does. Now, how I learned to manage this, but I'm still learning, so I can't. This is not expert advice or anything like that. But I've just learned like I'm gonna try to compartmentalize in the sense of that's their story, that's their lived experience. It doesn't have to be mine. It's okay to like, be super sad, and I get super angry because of the injustices and the inequity that they experience. But at the same time, I'm like, okay, like they're okay. Like at least like I helped them. I think hanging on to the like, at least I gave them something. Yeah, it could be a little like ego boosting, but I think it's the only thing that helps me, because it's like, thank God, they met me. Thank God they met, like, one of my coworkers, because if not, then, like, I'd be, like, in more fear. But now I'm like, hey, like, at least they know we have a soup kitchen in the area. Hey, at least, like, if I couldn't do nothing, if their child was under the age of 12, at least they have health insurance now, so they don't have to be like, they broke their arm, do I take them or do I not take them to the hospital because I can't pay the bill? So, like, I think that part of it, helps me. And then more than anything is having other people who experience this and who understand this. And I think that's where like Sammy comes into play, because I'm like, girl, I know you know.
Oh yeah.
Like, like
Sure.
the rage I'm feeling, I know you have felt it, and I think there's nothing more helpful than camaraderie, like in this community. There's nothing more helpful than speaking to someone who understands it, and I think that's the only thing. And she'll be like, hey, you know what has helped me, this is not. I'm like, okay, like I'll take that, I'll process it, I'll apply what I can or what I can't. And then just like anyone who works in like a really, you know, trauma focused area, or, you know, just like, because we have to react super quickly to the scenario. It's not like, and I felt like with teaching, like, yeah, you're always like adjusting, but you still like, you know, you're the boss of that classroom. Like they're kids, like, you know, like I'm the adult, like there's a little bit more of a sense of predictability, but I think in our roles, there's no sense of predictability. Like we need to act quick in our feet. So like at the end of the day, for the first 4 months, I'd come home drained. Like that's it. I'd walk through the door. If I ate, I'd eat something. Take me to bed. Like that's how my body was processing all these things. And then slowly but surely I was just like, okay, cool, I'm feeling better. But there's still always going to be those hard-hitting stories that you just, you know, you can't get out. But I think it helps, you know, just saying like, hey, at least I did something good for them. At least, you know, they went with a little bit piece of information. They don't have to listen to me at all. But like knowing that, okay, at least I give you something. And if it wasn't anything material, if it wasn't anything helpful, at least I know like I made them smile. And I think that's the greatest thing ever. And then having the support, because if not, I don't think I could do it for much longer.
You said that you know, like you hear these hard-hitting stories. Are any of them ever like triggering to you at all? And some of them are hard-hitting, right? So do you ever show emotion right then and there, and then you're like, oh wait, shit, like I shouldn't be doing that, I have to be like professional, and you know?
Yeah, for sure. I think I'm just, if anyone hasn't noticed, I'm just an emotional person, and so if my highest highs, I'll be screaming and celebrating everything with my participants. Like when they tell me something, when they pass their driver's license exam, or, you know, I recently had someone who like became a citizen, like I'm right there, I'm going to cheerlead with you, and everyone knows, and like in the office, everyone's like, it's fine, like Fernanda's a little loud.
We're meant to be loud. We can be loud. I'm extremely
born
loud.
Right, but at the same time, I experience these highs. It's gonna come with these like lows. So I think that part is hard, and I think that only came through like talking to my supervisor, because at first I was like, I don't know how to deal with this now. Like, you know, they told me this awful thing. I think it's not right. It actually triggered me because it reminded me of something either my family has been through, a close friend of mine has been through, or I myself have been through. So it's like in the moment, you know, I just try to focus on them, and I think like, I don't know, I guess.
What do you tell yourself in your head?
I don't even know. Like I'm probably just trying to be like, okay, like, it's okay, Fernanda, like a little bit of self-talk. And like they could be talking, I don't know what they're saying to me, but like in my head, I'm like, it's okay, like breathe.
Yep,
breathe.
you have to.
Yeah, like older people are the ones who like jab me in the heart, like, oh my God, I can't do it. So like I had one 84-year-old gentleman who like just started crying to me, and I just looked at him, and it was like looking at my grandfather's eyes, and I was like, I don't think I'm gonna make it through this one. And so he's talking, and I literally just found myself being like, you're okay, breathe. And so I was like the whole time you're like, and like when he would like look away or whatever, but I was like, how can you not like react to that? It's not for me. I don't have a poker face. So I think it's important for like the time afterwards, like my supervisor has always told me like they leave, and now you need to take like 15 minutes for yourself. Because when I first started, it was like back to back. And she was like, go for a walk. Like, I don't care. Like, I need you to be okay. Because if you're not okay, you're not helping them. Like, you can't not be okay and try to help these people.
This is your supervisor?
Yeah.
I love that. Supervisor.
I love that.
I love her to death. Shout out. But she's like the one, and she would like regañarme like my mom, and she'd be like, Fed, you're doing too much, go. And I'd be like, okay. And like, so I needed someone to tell me that, because I can't do it for myself. I haven't learned how to do it for myself yet. Slowly, it's a work in process. But she thankfully has known me well enough and knows like the career enough where she'd just be like, you're done. Like you're going home early. Like take time for yourself. And she's just like, breathe. And she'll come up to me, and our whole organization, we're like full of like strong, powerful women, which makes it even better. I don't think I could do what I do if I didn't have an amazing work environment. So they'll just be like, Fed, like, did you eat today? Like, go eat. Like, you haven't, it's 2:00, you didn't eat. And I'm like, okay. And it's like literally like having moms and older sisters and just really, everyone's looking out for each other. So I think that really contributes to like, handling the things. I do not yet, I feel like I haven't been in this long enough, or perhaps don't have the experience enough to know how to best control my own emotions and my like reactions to our participant stories. But I have the support of these wonderful people around me who thankfully have known like me well enough, and even in the first week they were comfortable enough to be like, stop. Or like we have like walk-in days, so like sometimes my supervisor will be like, you're not going to see anyone during that time period, like I need you to rest. And I'm like, that's so cool. So I think knowing that they care so much about me, and knowing that they see that within me, and knowing that we're doing it at the end of the day, if I'm good, they're good. I think that's what's worked best for me, like the collaboration of it. And like, hold me accountable, dude, because I'm not going to do it for myself. Yeah. Like, it's so hard to do it. You have to be so disciplined to do so. So I think that helps, like that.
It's great to have supervisors like that, because, for instance, this week was the hardest week that I've had so far in my company, and I'm just making a year at my company. I literally made it on Thursday.
I made it this week too.
Oh wow!
Yeah, because we started our jobs around the same time. Okay, so I made a year, and I don't know why. Like, Thursday was my hardest day to date. I had a really, really strong case come in for an intake, and I was just in awe of this young girl. She's 20 now, and I was just, her story hit me like a ton of bricks, and I was just like, whoa. And so after that, like, normally I'm in my office, but I opened my door, I left my office, and my supervisor saw me, and she's like, what's going on? And I said, I just had a really hard intake. I need a second, because I did a suicidal ideation intervention with her. I made a safety plan. I had to do a lot of stuff. And so she was like, okay, you know what you're going to do? You're going to leave the office. You're going to go walk around and take a break. You need like 15 minutes to regain yourself. And I'm like, I'm going to do exactly that. And I did that. And then later in the afternoon, I got the most amazing news from one of my clients, who, she's a little girl, and her and her mom both got on the camera, and they were like, guess what? And I was like, what? She's like, my abuser was found guilty. Oh. And I was like,
not you getting emotional right now.
I was crying so much. She was crying, and seeing that happen, I started to tear up, and I was like, it's a camera, and I'm watching myself in the camera, and I feel the tears coming down, but you can't see the tears on the camera. So I was just like, I'm just gonna smile through this. But I was congratulating her. I was getting so happy. So I understand that feeling, because it's, especially like when they tell us like you have to be professional, you have to like, not break that boundary. But then again, there are sometimes like these occasions.
Sometimes it's appropriate.
When it's like it's appropriate, and you can't really do anything about it, because it's an emotion. And I think them seeing our emotion also shows them and reminds them that we're people too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
It like we're not made of stone. Our hearts aren't cold.
Yeah.
Like we're actual people, and so us, I think, being able to celebrate their accomplishments and being able to be there for them is such an amazing thing, because, and I did talk about this in one of the episodes where it was scaring me that I saw myself not being able to have emotions.
I remember this. Yeah.
And it was dawning on me that, you know, I was making a boundary and that was scaring me. But when this happened this week, I was talking about it to my supervisor and I mentioned that again. I was like, you know, remember when I told you like it was scaring me? She's like, no, I remember, but this is, you know, this is good.
Mm-hmm.
This is okay, because it's showing that you know when to make the boundaries at appropriate times.
Right.
This is a celebration. This is amazing news. If you were crying when they're telling you exactly what's happening when you first meet them, that's, you know, that's where you have to put up the boundary. But
Right.
because you've been with this person for almost a year, you've gone through the story with them, and now you're celebrating this achievement for them, that's the appropriate time. That's when you're able to like let that boundary out, let's show emotion and actually congratulate them and be happy for them, be there with them. And that made my day so much better. And overall, I was just like, that trumped everything.
Yeah.
I had the crappiest of mornings. It was so bad. I had so many clients back to back to back. And that trumped everything. That was like, that's it. That was the best news of the day. This is amazing. I mean, obviously, I still went home exhausted mentally, but that made my day like 10 times better.
Yeah.
And so hearing that and hearing what you're talking about of celebrating your clients and being there for them, it makes sense. And it's okay to do it.
That's how you make the rapport even stronger, right?
Yeah.
But that also goes to show how we genuinely care for our clients
Yeah.
so much, you know? Like, and we're passionate about what we do, and we're passionate about helping them out in any way. So to give them that support, like, and to know that, like, we're always in their corner cheering them on, I'm sure it gives them so much comfort, you know?
Yeah, and I think especially when the world is kind of set up, and I'm speaking like more about immigrants and like the undocumented population, I think so many times there's so many doors closed in their face, and there's so many people who are like judging them for their accent or getting frustrated if they can't get the words out in English, or, you know, just insult them in ways, you know, that we shouldn't, in my opinion, like ever do. Like, how could you treat a human so poorly? Like, it's not something that I can comprehend. And like, I don't know. And so I think one of the things that I hear so often, and I think that helps me, is like, they're always like, I was so scared to come in today. You know, like, I went to the Department of Social Services and I told them I didn't have my documentation status sorted out, and they immediately turned me away, and they treated me super bad, or, you know, they insulted me because, I may not have finished like even first grade, but like I was taught respect, and that's more than any master's degree, any doctorate level could do. So I was like, like, you know your worth. But like, it's terrifying when they're, you know, they're prepping, and I see them in the waiting room. They're so nervous. Especially like, you know, the first timers, and they come in and they're, even if they're late or if they miss their appointment or whatever, I like, how could I get mad at that? Like, you have, so you're trying to survive. Like, it's okay that I waited 15 minutes and, you know, I gained time to write an email back, so it works. But they're like, and they're like, I'm so sorry, and like, and I'm like, it's okay, and they're like, and then so at the end of the day, usually it's like the older woman or like the woman or the kids, they're like, I see you need that, like, thank you so much, like, I didn't know you were gonna be so nice, or like, I feel so comfortable with you, or, and like, when they tell you that, that's when you're like,
the best feeling, I'm
doing something right, because you never know, you're trying your best, but I think teaching is very like thankless, so being in this role where everyone's like, Dios la bendiga, y la amo, and they're hugging me, and like, you know, they're just kind of like, they know that I'm going to support them, I'm going to champion whatever they do. That I think is like what makes all the difference. And I know like teenagers are not the best at expressing this, but I know when they tell you like, you know, like you're pretty cool, like that.
Hearing that I'm pretty cool from a teenager,
please. Like I would die.
Even my like little cousins, when they say, Sam, you're so cool, I'm just like, am I really?
Yeah.
I know you mentioned that you have your bachelor's and that you essentially want to go for your master's. Do you think that going for your master's is something that is accommodating for you?
I think yes and no. I think because I want it so much, it's gonna fit into my life. Like, I'll fit it in. Mm-hmm. I think at this point, I have a new goal that I'm working towards, and it's like, you know, I have that, and like, why wouldn't I do it? I think like, you know, education is power, and I've always said I'm a lifelong learner. So if that learning part of it is gonna be actual academia, then I'll do so. I don't like studying. I don't like textbooks. And Lord knows I'm the biggest procrastinator ever. And like, I truly don't enjoy schooling. I love learning. So I think now going into, I'm not like, oh, like grad school. You know, like, yeah, I have that, but I think I'm like just more excited because it's like, again, like a field I don't know enough about, but I think it's gonna inch me closer to what I wanna do. I'd love to be like a licensed counselor. I'd love to provide therapy, but really targeted to the undocumented population, or like the immigrant experience, if you will. Because I think that there's not enough, it's not talked about enough. I think because it's taboo in some of our cultures, especially the Latino culture.
Oh, yeah. It's very taboo.
Our machismo culture. But I think at the same time, I don't know, I think it's just not considered. Like, all the trauma of crossing the border, like, you know, you see people die literally in front of you as you're crossing, or you had a really great experience. You came and you were on a tourist visa and then you overstayed, but like, you still left home country. You still left someone behind. There's still always going to be like trauma, you know, intertwined that they don't realize is trauma, but like perhaps it's setting them back. So like, I'd love to tap into that, and I think I've seen the benefit of, you know, mental health services for our population, because most of the time, once, you know, they are in therapy and they'll come back, or I'll check in on them, I'm like, hey, how'd it go? Or like, you know, I know you finished your 12 sessions or whatever, how you feeling? And they're always like, you know what, like, there's so many things I didn't realize, and I know you guys hear that endlessly. I didn't realize, I didn't know, I didn't think, I didn't consider this would affect me. So I'm like, yeah, like, there's all these things. So I'd love to break into that, and I think even more so because our, like, you know, our local hospital where we are, their psych ward does not have one person that speaks Spanish.
Really interesting.
And I have, you know, quite a few of my participants who have been through their, you know, psych ward, and they've, you know, told me things, and I've always just been like, okay, like, not dismissive, but just like, yeah, what can I do about it? You know, like, yeah. I don't know what to say. Like, I can't just call patient relations and be like, how dare you? Like, that's not going to get me anywhere. But I can be like, hey, like, you know, I know X, Y, and Z is there. They have been with me. If I can share any history, or if I can serve as a translator, then I'd be more than happy to. But I think it's ridiculous. Like, how are we going to have, like, such a big Spanish-speaking population? Let's not even touch on the Ukrainian and the Haitian Creole-speaking ones. But, like, even, like, Spanish, that, like, in our community, at least that's what they're mainly singing. And you're not going to have one person in the psych ward that speaks Spanish, not one practitioner that can tailor to our community. So, of course, they're going to keep coming back, and the issue's not going to be resolved. They don't have insurance. They can't follow up. They don't have the means. Sometimes they're homeless, and they just get put in psych ward so that they have somewhere to sleep. And then you're out and there's no follow-up procedures. I'm like, what happens to those people? Like, so I'd love to be someone who can kind of interfere in that with, like, mental health but more like centered on that, with the immigrant experience.
You would
wild.
be perfect for it too. Just seeing just how passionate you are
Your
about
enthusiasm.
it. Yeah. The fact that you can relate to them makes it 10 times better too.
Yeah.
You want to always give like a welcoming environment to your clients, right? Obviously we like to do that too, and usually when our clients come in, they're always, again, like they don't know what to really expect because they probably had bad experiences with therapists before, and then like when they leave, they're like, I don't know what I expected, but it wasn't this. And like, I feel like you give me comfort, like I can trust you. That's literally the best feeling when they can walk out and say like, I trust you. I feel good that, I feel good that we dealt with this issue and that we talked about that,
Yeah.
It's literally so accomplishing, and it's exactly why we do what we do, because we want to be able to help them out and help them, make them feel that way.
Yeah.
Give them the comfort that they probably don't get at home or anywhere else.
Yeah, 100%. And I think it's hard because it's, we see people in our profession burnt out, and we see them snapping on, a client, a participant, an individual. And I think, thankfully, like I'm young enough and new enough into this where I haven't seen that, like, at my forefront. Like the most I've been exposed to is like more positive experiences. So I want to focus more on that, although I know they exist, like these negative, just backlash, or like, some people just like bark back. Like there's just some people who you ask them something and we don't know what's going on in their day, but like, they just treat someone poorly. Like I hate when people treat like waitresses or servers poorly. That's my biggest pet peeve. Like biggest red flag. I don't want to be associated with you if you're that way. Like
It's true.
I can't. Like I don't think it's okay. So I think there's so many immigrants and people in general, honestly, who have been met with that, who have been met with someone who has talked back poorly to them. We've been we've experienced it ourselves when someone treats us poorly. But I don't think it should be excused that because I'm miserable, like outside of here, I treat you miserable while I'm here. Like I think there's also something to be said about like, yeah, I could be going through some really hard shit, and like there's stuff going on in my personal life, but I can't bring that to work with me. Like I physically, I can't, because if I do, then I'm not going to be at my best for my people. Like I need to be good so I can hopefully make you a little bit more better, like a little bit more, supported, like something. So I think it's hard. I don't know.
How do you put that in the back burner?
Delusion.
Being delulu is the solution.
Right. Like, I don't know. I think I get so immersed in their lives and their story where I just like completely forget about my own. Like, I think if you're meeting with me, I'm 100% focused on you. Like, I'm laser focused on how you're doing, what you're reacting to me. Like, you came in and I saw that you're
oh my God,
a little bit more time.
Yes.
Like, I saw, and I will notice when you leave, you're a little bit more.
Yeah.
Okay. Once I see them being a little bit more relaxed, then I can relax, and now we're better. So I think one of the good things is like right away, like welcoming them is like, thankfully it's embedded in our intake. Like, where are you from? Like, where are you born? When did you immigrate? And that is just so much easier because I immediately can be like, hey, I immigrated too. And then that immediately, I think there's just like yeah, like that's one
immediate bond.
Yeah, because sometimes you're like, I thought you were going to speak Spanish. Like, I thought you were a white girl.
Dude,
Americana, gringa.
Dude, the amount of times I get told, hey, yeah, I'm just calling because I want to help with translation.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, I'm sorry, to who? And they tell me, oh, client ABC. And I'm just like, I speak Spanish.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay. And they're like, oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. I don't mean to assume. I'm just like, no, it's okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I probably don't look Hispanic, but I
Right.
do speak
You're
Spanish.
a white girl.
Yeah. Or like, I got it, like the voice, I understand, they're not as tan, I get it.
I'm definitely not.
It doesn't make me less than. So they'll be like, oh, when I saw you, like, I thought you were going to be like a little gringuita. I'm like, no, I also immigrated. Like, I wasn't born here. Then immediately when they know that, it just kind of like relaxes them. And I like knowing a lot about different cultures. So if someone's from Nicaragua, I'm like, oh, you know what? Like, I remember there was this soccer game, right? You guys just had a soccer game. Or like anyone who's from Mexico or Guatemala or I don't know, wherever. We mostly got like Central Americans. That I can be like, oh, I have a friend who's Mexican. I have a friend who's half Uruguayan. And you know what? She introduced me to X, Y, and Z. So I think them also like feeling like I know a little bit more about them, or like they feel a little bit more seen, I think, is what really changes it. Because when I'm like just very like name, last name, address, phone number, that's awful. Like that's the worst thing ever. I hate when I do that. Like when that happens to me at a doctor's office, I'm like, you don't want to get to know me.
No, honestly,
not one question.
It's true, because I recently got like a client from Central Africa, and that's new to me. I was just like, oh, tell me a little bit about that. I don't know much information. So this is your home country. What are some of your favorite foods that you miss?
Yes, I love small talk.
Like little small talk, because building rapport is the biggest thing.
Yeah.
And that's when I see the hands unclench.
Yeah.
That's when I see them like relax a little bit, and they're just like, oh, we're not getting straight into the nitty gritty. Okay, I feel comfortable talking about this.
Yeah, like we have to assume they've been through something. And we should assume that about everyone.
Oh,
everyone has something. Whether they've worked on it or not, whether they realize it or not, I think we should always go into any interaction with any human being. Like, you have a lived experience, I have a lived experience. I'm sure we can find something in common, but that's no reason for me to judge or look down upon your past experiences. Yep. But I think it's helpful that, like, being in this field, we can recognize, like, you know, if someone would be rude to me, like, you know, perhaps something's going on with them. And so we kind of, like, not dismiss some of the behaviors, but we can understand why they exist. And I think the same goes for when we see, you know, participants. Like, I know, like, there's already something you've been through. There's no reason for me to, you know, think of you as less than just because you only, you know, finished up until first grade or you can't read or write. Like, I'm going to do everything that I can to make that easier for you. So I find sometimes, like, you know, they just, like, withhold a bit of information. But I think we always have to give options. So, like, hey, like, you know, you need to fill out this application. Do you want me to help you? Do you need me to spell things out or whatever? But, like, making it as natural as possible. Not like, oh, like, you can't read. Like, oh, you know, like, and I've heard that. So, like, I'm like... Or, like, you know, if I can tell them in the phone call, like, for example, when I'm registering them for health insurance, like, hey, by the way, we don't have the best reading and writing skills, so if I chime in, you know, like, is that okay? And most of the time it is. Some reps do care, but whatever. But, like, so that way it's easier. And, like, so when they're told, and I have, like, everything prepped for them, like, this is your daughter's first last name, second last name. This is her birthday. Like, because you're in the moment and you're on a phone call, and I don't think we realize how terrifying that is.
Yeah.
Like, it's petrifying for my community. So I think, like, right away, they're, like, you know, already anxious. Like, we just got comfortable, now we're anxious again. Right? Like, well, you just met me, we got it going on, we have the vibes, we're comfortable, we talk about pupusas, like, we did it all. Like, we're gonna go into health insurance now. Yeah. We're gonna go on a phone call, and, like, now you need to spell. And so, and I think it's cute, but, like, I don't know, they'll be like, I don't know if their daughter's name, for example, is Cassie. Usually it isn't, but whatever. The first letter, C de kangaroo. I'm like, no! I'm like, C de casa. And, like, the person on the phone will be like, ¿Qué? Like, do you mean C de casa o ca de, I don't know what else. And they're like, look at me, now we're nervous, and now they're embarrassed. And I'm like, no, I'm like, don't worry. I'm like, say de casa. And they're like, say de casa. And I'm like, okay. And then, and you know, it is nerve-wracking. I don't know the alpha, beta, delta, whatever.
No.
Like, you know the pilot language?
No.
I don't know it. I get nervous too on the phone. I'm like, pide policía. Like, I don't know. So like they have the same experience. It's my favorite thing, and I like always like cross my fingers. I'm like, I hope I get a funny phone call. But so to them, I'm like laughing with them, and I'm like, oh, I'll put it on mute. I'm like, yeah, like seems like she woke up on the wrong side of the bed, huh? And then I'll like unmute her or unmute myself. Excuse me. Or like, I don't know, so we had like a really, really nasty lady the other day who was like our representative. I said, I'm so sorry, I'm hanging up. She's not going to be nice to us. We're going to try again. And they were like, you can do that? I was like, yes,
after a while, you just know who's nice and not nice after a while, for real.
So I'm like, let me do this. Okay, we're going to be on hold another 10 minutes, no problem, because the stress we're going to experience in this phone call, not worth it.
It's not worth it, no.
No, and it's embarrassing because sometimes representatives, and I get it, you're trying to do your job, whatever, but like sometimes they're really rude. They're like, do you speak English? Do you understand? And they like talk as if they're not, you know, as if they're like kindergarteners. Like, I don't know. And I'm like, no, they're fine. I'm just joining the phone call because I need it to go well. Like, I need to advocate for my participant.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'll make the phone calls. I'll always introduce myself first, let them know someone else is in the room with them, and you can't even imagine the difference it makes. Because when I first started, I would just be like, all right, start talking. Obviously, I didn't know. Like, I didn't take into the fact that it was petrifying for a phone call. But like, I don't know, I call for bills for the hospital, for example. Can I register for the financial assistance program? Or, you know, I need help, an itemized bill or whatever. So in the beginning, I'd be like, okay, go ahead, tell the señorita and tell the translator what you want. And they'd be like, señorita, yo quiero $5,000. And I'd be like, yeah. And I'd be like, oh, okay. And then I'd take over. And then they felt bad because they couldn't do it. So then I realized that I was making them feel bad because I'm taking the phone from them and like, you know, interjecting or whatever. So I'm like, so now I'm like, don't worry, I'm going to introduce myself. Like, I'll determine, you know, if we stay on the call with her or not. And we go and we coach and they're looking at me and I'm like, yeah, like that's your daughter's birthday. And they need to spell out the address, or I don't know, they like ask them for the county. And I'm like, they don't know, like, they don't even know what Stanford is. Like, they don't know what Manhattan is. Or they're gonna know the county they're in. So I'm like, you know, X, Y, and Z. And the person's like, I need the applicant to answer. I'm like, oh my God, like, are you kidding? But like, there's so many like idiosyncrasies that come with like, you know, not knowing the language, being an immigrant, being a newcomer. Like, you don't understand how much you have to explain things. So now I make it a point to like explain everything. We're gonna get to the point of the phone call. They're gonna read you this legal letter. It's gonna sound super scary. Don't be scared. Like, no worries. Like, I don't know. And like, so you have to do it. And that I only know how to do because of teaching. When you're working with kids, it's completely new. You're starting zero. Yeah. Like, you know, like, why is a circle a circle? Well, so it's a circle. You know, like, it's circle, but they can't, in their heads, no, it's a circle because there's not any like right angles, right? There's no sides, like it's just like a never ending line, and they're like, oh, yeah, so it's like, you know, it's like these things that I wouldn't have known without everything I went through with teaching. So it's cool, and then I'm like, oh my God, like, you just did that. So I'll be like, yeah, everyone, he just made a phone call. Let's hear it for Juan. Like, you know, like, we have to make it fun, and if it's not fun, then I'm not doing the job.
What does burnout look like for you?
Oh yeah, what does it look like for you?
I don't know, I think it's hard. I think I've slowly come to realize this, and like when I look at like my past and stuff, like I really do see like if I'm like sleeping too much, for example, or if I stop talking to my friends, or if I like kind of like, you know, cocoon myself in the comfort of my own home, then I'm like, there's something you're avoiding, right? And like, and I have to be like checked or like put in line. And again, I'm learning how to do it to myself, but like I need someone to be like, yo, Sammy, answer the phone. I'm like, it's not that I'm trying to avoid you. It's like, I just can't like, I can't think right now. Like, I can't process, and I don't know why I can't yet. So first I need to, like, which is so annoying, but first I need to identify, like, what it was. What was my trigger? Like, there has to have been something that triggered me in a certain way, or that, you know, sparked something. Burnout really looks like I'm too much in my head. Like, there's two things I'm battling, like two different, like a dichotomy that I just can't pinpoint. That's what I think burnout looks like in my role currently.
So then how do you address it?
So then I think really just talking through it. It's nice that I have like a really great relationship with my family. Like, I don't know where I would be without my mom and my dad, my brother and my sister. Like, if I didn't have them four, I would be no one and nowhere. So I think it's cool. Like, it's nice that I get to talk to my mom and tell her, like, all these things that I do. And it's, you know, it's nice to hear her be like, oh my God, like, you know, praising me, if you will. But at the same time, like, she'll kind of, like, flip the switch on me a little bit. She's like, you know, like, can you just imagine, like, you know, if you were in that situation, like, you should be so grateful for life, and you should be. So then I think she'll always, like, turn it into, like, a positive, and that's, like, really what I need, because it's, like, I'll get so mad at the injustices that our community suffers. That's what drives me insane. The system, like, drives me insane. Yeah. So I think when she's like, it's okay, like, you know, like, you can't change the system. Like, at this point, you know, it's the way that it is. Hopefully soon, and what you're doing, you're working towards bettering the system. She was like, at the end of the day, like, they didn't have anyone else to talk to. They talked to you. Like, they confided in you. And I'm like, okay, yeah, thank you. And then, I don't know, I'll talk to my dad, and he'll, like, make me laugh, and he's, like, the funniest person I've ever known. So he'll just, like, make me smile, and he'll make, like, a joke out of something so terrible. Like, sometimes he has, like, a really dark sense of humor, and I think I need that, because if we're in this and we're hearing tragedies, we have to make it funny. Like, there's no way we cannot.
Yeah, we've talked about that. How we need to have
yeah, like, I'm not, like, not insensitive jokes, but, like, we have to, like, come on. Yeah. So, like, he'll do that for me, and I'm like, okay. So then that way, when I hear that experience again, I can think about that, like, dark sense of humor he has. I'm like, okay, like, let me snap out of this. And then my brother and my sister, of course, like, you know, they'll start telling me about their lives, and I'm like, oh, like, you're so cute. You don't know what's happening in the world. Like, you don't even know. But I'm like, I want to live in that. Like, I don't want to, like, break this innocence. Like, my sister's younger. So I'm like, tell me about high school drama. Like,
I want to hear anything else.
Everything. I know everything that's going on in that school.
Love it.
Give me all the chisme. So I think it's nice, like, having, like, people also in your life who aren't in this field to kind of, like, break you out of it, because you can be so immersed in this world. And you're hearing trauma, bad thing, injustice. And that's what you're living in, and, you know, that's fine. But when it starts to consume you too much, it can also be dangerous. Like, you know, that's where burnout comes from. So I think when I'm like, tell me about, you know, what mansion you went to, like, to my brother, and he's like, yo, I went to this castle, and it was crazy, and, you know, X, Y, and Z, because he, like, works in HVAC. I'm like, that's so cool. Like, there's a whole different life out here. So I think it's really cool for me to be able to, like, snap out of that and then go into, like, my family unit and be like, you guys are my core. Like, I need this. And I think it's hard to not have, like, a support system. Yeah.
How do you, like, while you're at work, right? Like, how do you manage your time to see clients, do documentation, do whatever, phone calls, emails, all of that? Yeah. How do you manage your time?
Not well. Ask my supervisor.
Is it a struggle?
The hardest. It's not the trauma, not the honestly, the really hard part.
I agree with you.
Managing my time. Data. Damn, I don't want to hear that word ever again. Like, that part of it. Not the best. I see the value in it, and I think it's so cool, like, when they give you, like, the data reports or whatever, and I love, like, numbers and stuff, and I think it helps you, because you're like, damn, I have made an impact, you know, like, they have gotten better, like, based on their needs assessments, But no, not well at all. Like my calendar is like everything's booked in there. Like when I get there, I should have an hour to like check emails, look at voicemails. Then I see all my participants, and at the end of the day, I should be doing like my follow-ups, more voicemails, data, whatever, admin. And I don't, you know, the reception will be like, hey, like, you know, we have another day, like we have an 18-year-old kid, he's homeless, and in my heart I can't say no. Like I can't. I need to learn how to say no. But I can't. So I'm like, oh, like give him to me. So I'll sit with him and, you know, and I'm like, how is it going? And I need to learn his story and all this stuff. So there went my voicemail time. So now I have 50 voicemails that I haven't listened to. And those are like, you know, participants that I have to get back to, not that, you know, it's like just some random thing. So then in my head, I'm like, I bet you someone called me and they needed something and I didn't know, but whatever. And so now I have 4 or 5 clients or participants back to back, and so I'm seeing their story, I'm hearing the story, giving them my all. Okay, on to the next. Oh, how are you doing? How can I support you? Great, here's this information. And I do that 4 times over, sometimes 3, it depends. And then the end of the day is supposed to be like my come down, but then I'll get thrown into a meeting, or like, I don't know, like I get tossed into like interviews, or I don't know, like give us your opinion on evictions, which is what happened the other day with like Princeton or something. And I'm like, oh, okay. And then I'm like, it's 6 o'clock and I was supposed to leave at 5. And then I'm like, and then so the next day I go in with the best intentions of getting all my things together. So now like I've started to block a little bit more time for my admin work, but I think it's hard. I think I'll never be like fully caught up because I want to help so much. Mm-hmm. So it's like, you know, if I only see 2 people a day, like I'm bored.
Yeah.
And that's a reality. I'm like, it's okay. Like if an emergency comes in, let me know. Like I don't like turning people away, especially if like, you know, like an email can wait, an emergency can't. Like a family can, like food can't wait.
For sure.
You know, getting on the shelter wait list, which is a whole other problem. You know, like that can't wait. Like, let me just give you the information now. I have it. I need to give it. I need to hand out the information, or else I'm like choking.
Yeah.
So I think managing my time well, no, I don't know how to do. I'd love to learn how to do it. Again, that's where my supervisor comes in, and she's an amazing woman. So she'll be like, Fernanda, you're done with it. You're done. It's been 1 hour, and I'm like, 15 minutes left. She's like, you're done with it. Like, I'm coming back. And I'm like, okay. Sorry, we have to go. Yeah. I need to answer a voice now.
Productivity is not going to be your best friend.
No, not at all. And it's never been. I'd love to learn how. Maybe I need to Adderall. Who knows? But, like, I don't. So there's some days where I'll just, like, block off my whole calendar. I won't see anyone, and I'll catch up. Mm-hmm. So, like, I did that on Monday. Like, I locked myself in one of our rooms, and I, like, literally called 100 people that day. Because I was like, how are you doing? How's this? Do you need me? Blah, blah. Okay, next. And so I needed that, too. So I could have, like, a super productive day, but it really has to be intentional. Mm-hmm. I can never be unintentionally, like, good at time management. Nope, not part of me. It's never been a part of me. I would love it to. But I think it's so hard. All of us are there to help. Exactly. So, like, if we can, why don't we? Yeah. And I think that, you know, can be harmful, but it's the best for the community at the end of the day. But I think that's hard, too. It's like, because it's like, and I'll, like, knock on the lawyer's door, and I'm like, hey, it's not someone like... She's like, yes, of course. Like, why wouldn't I help them? So I think it's nice that we're all that way. But when we need to be productive, of course we are. Just, I'm not the best at it. I'm learning.
So, since you do 50 million things at once, it sounds like, what do you do for self-care after work?
Don't look at them now. I'm embarrassed. My nails.
They still look gorgeous. No, they do. The shape of it, I love.
Thank you. I love doing my nails. Just taking time for me. Like, if I'm going to spend the $40, I'm gonna spend it on a pedicure. You know, like I'm gonna get my nails done. I'm gonna sit down in my room, lock myself in my room, watch Netflix, blast music, especially like Jonas Brothers and ACDC.
Wow, love it.
Yeah, like that's my thing. Like when I really need a self-care, like I truly like try to go back to like my teenage years or like my preteen years where I'm like, everybody leave me alone. Like put on, you know, old school Disney movies, or, you know, I just try to go back to, and maybe this is like a part of me that I don't want to let go, or I hope never leaves. But just like that little like girl, like the little girl who like wants to like do things for herself. And like that's my form of self-care. Like I want to listen to One Direction and Jonas Brothers and Jordan Sparks and Lizzie McGuire and like reminisce on that, because I think it was such a beautiful time of my life, and I want to be like doing my nails. I'm doing something for myself. I'm taking care of myself. I love doing my makeup and I love doing my hair. So I think doing things for myself that make me feel good is, you know, the best outlet. And then of course always spending time with family and friends. Like,
so we've talked about the good and bad of being a case manager, right?
Yeah.
So what advice would you give somebody entering the case management world?
I think, I don't know, there's like two phrases that I kind of learned throughout this that I like live by, I think now. And it's something that like I do like mental health first aid trainings for youth. So anyone from 12 to 18. So, you know, I trained my coworkers and I just trained parents, and it's something that's embedded there, but it's like repeating to yourself, like, safe for now. So let's be safe for now. The rest will come. So like, you know, there's an emergency situation that presents itself. I need to make sure I'm safe, they're safe. Let's address that. And then we'll see. And I think also when you're interacting with participants, and could apply to life, of course, but it's like you have to be like a duck floating in water. On the top, you can appear as cool as a cucumber. Nothing's hitting you. Like, you know, they're telling you all these things, and you know, just to make the experience better for them, you don't want to react too much, or, right, like this is the reason we don't cry with them. Like, yes, the celebrations, of course, but in the harder moments, like, we're not going to be like, oh, my God, I can't believe that keeps happening to you. Like, you know, like, we can't be that person. We have to be the one who's, like, more calm for them. In that moment, we're, like, their pillar of strength. So we need to, you know, do so. That's just the nature of, I think, case management. And I hope to, like, you know, implement that as well, like, in future roles. But I think it's, like, you know, the duck is floating, it looks really cool, like chilling on the pond. But underneath, its little legs are going crazy. And that's what's going on in your mind. That's what your internal battle is going to be. It's always going to look like this, and it's going to look like a hot mess underneath. But on top, people don't need to know that. And, you know, it's just not going to help the situation. If you're not calm, they're not going to be calm. If you're not okay, they're not okay. So I think there we have to kind of like swallow our pride a little bit, and perhaps, you know, tap into that professionalism, or tap into that, like, perhaps you have to think of yourself like in a corporate situation, and, like, you know, whatever it is to make you maintain, you know, being the pillar of strength for your participant, for your client, or the human being that you're interacting with. And it's okay to be doing this. Like, that's okay too. We're not always going to be 100%. But we're safe for now, and then afterwards, self-care. Yeah. And it's okay to tell your supervisor, hey, you know what, I had a hard day, I need to go home early. Or don't book yourself, it goes against what I said earlier, but like, don't book yourself back to back to back to back. That's not healthy for you. Book yourself time in between. We need the fresh air. We need a break. Like, and so if you want to help people, you need to help yourself first. So I think that's what I would say. Case management wise, I think it applies to being a human being who interacts with other human beings. And I think it helps, you know, in any conversation that you have with someone who's confiding in you.
Knowing that you deal with all these things, right? Like, how's your mental health today? Same.
I felt that.
This is where I think ethics. Yeah, I need you guys. a work in progress.
Okay, that's a good answer.
I think we should always be working on ourselves.
Are you saying you need a therapist?
Yeah, yes, I love therapy. I've like always been in and out of therapy. I've always been the biggest supporter for therapy. Like anyone I talk to, I'm like, everyone needs a therapist.
Do you have one right now?
I'm looking for one. So
Nice.
I'm in a tough situation where I don't have insurance right
yes.
now. So it's hard. So that's like the
time to be 26.
Exactly.
It's amazing.
26 off of my mom's health insurance, and then Connecticut is annoying with their open enrollment. So I have to wait until November 1st. So I'm like, November 1st, like that's it.
On the calendar.
Yeah, like on the calendar, like first thing, mental health. I have a lot of people in my life who are therapists, who thankfully have been, not that they're treating me or I'm their patient or anything like that, but that have been able to tell me like, hey, this would work maybe, or I've seen this like success with a client. Also just like asking people kind of like at work and fellow social workers, like what they do for themselves. I've been trying to implement that, but I need to do more of the self-work and like perhaps like how I am now, but I never thought that could contribute. Or I never worked on it, I think. Like, yeah, like obviously I knew I immigrated, but like, I guess I don't think, or I'd love to know, and I think that's why therapy is so cool. I'd love to know how that could have impacted, or like, you know, or like, what did that little girl think in that moment? Like my father immigrated first, like, did I think, you know, how did I feel about him coming first here and then us meeting up with him, or, you know.
So you feel like you've never like really processed those emotions fully?
Yeah, and I think maybe that's what's coming up during this process, like more of like my child self.
That almost sounds like countertransference, no?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah. So like,
Go for it.
like, cool.
I love all of this. So, go ahead, educate me. Speak your truth, girl. This is what you studied, girl.
So like that's like when you kind of get triggered by your clients' situations, right? Because you start thinking about your own situations, which also goes to show like the fact that you're aware that you haven't even dealt with those emotions. That's awesome. So I definitely highly recommend you going to therapy to be able to deal with those things. That way, in the future, when you see your clients and then they talk about these things, it's a little less triggering. And because like I'm sure like it's hard to like keep a straight face in the moment sometimes, you know. So like, once you address it, I think it would definitely help you in how you handle these, you know, how you handle their stories in the future.
Yeah, 100%. I think that's like my main kind of reasoning behind it, because I like why I want to go back into therapy is that I just like kind of want to explore more of it. Like I don't think, you know, like there's some stories that are naturally gonna like hurt me harder than most. So I think I feel like, you know, I've realized that pattern. The beautiful thing is I feel like I've gotten to know myself a little bit better through this job, and it's forced me to get to know myself. So now I want to like work on it, and I don't think I can study and work and manage everything if I'm not in therapy. I can't do it alone. I can't. I really can't.
It's great that you like make those realizations, because a lot of people don't, especially like being in the field. A lot of people are just like, yeah, it is. I know what I'm doing. I don't need a therapist.
Yeah.
I'm a huge advocate for therapists, being one and needing one. But how does your family see therapy in general?
We love it.
Really? That's great.
Awesome.
You don't hear that often.
You don't.
Yeah, we're, again, thank God, that we have always openly talked about mental health. It's always been a conversation in our household. It's never been a taboo. It's never been, I don't know, like, I don't think in our family we have a lot of situations that are conversations, I should say. We don't have topics, conversations, subjects that are taboo. They're typically seen in the stereotypical Latino household, right? So I think that's where like we defy the odds a little bit.
Breaking the generational trauma.
Yeah, exactly. Thankfully in my family, like we have therapists, we have psychiatrists. My godmother, my mom's cousin is a psychiatrist. So like it's always been talked about, right? And you know, before my parents were married or anything like that. My mom always knew how helpful it was. So even when we were little, she's disclosed this now, but I think she had us in therapy when my father first immigrated. So we were 3 and 5 maybe. So even since then, it was always at the forefront. And then later on, once we moved here, we were also placed in therapy. We didn't have to be having a mental breakdown in order to receive the help. Mm-hmm. My mom always thought it as they get their teeth checked twice a month or twice a year. They get their physical once a year. They're going to get their mental health checked throughout the year. So I think that's always been helpful. So I can't really relate to when people are I don't know, it's not talked about in my family. Yeah. I think I'm the minority there.
The first guest who has family where it's mental health is really talked about, which I think is really awesome.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
It's definitely a different story in my family too. Mm-hmm. So it's awesome to hear a different perspective.
Yeah, I think my dad doesn't voice it as much, but he's just as much of a champion for it as anyone is, and and he'll make jokes about it, and he's okay, she's acting, it's one ansiedad, it's her anxiety, be careful, she has anxiety. So we'll make it funny, and I don't know, and he's relax, you don't want to put her in depression, he recognizes I guess the importance of it, which I think is also beautiful, and he'll check in on us. I think amongst our siblings as well, it's my little sister, she'll be hey, I think something could benefit out of a therapy session. That's so awesome. It's really cool, and I'm happy that's something that's embedded into our family structure, and I think at the same time we've been able to give that to other people in our lives.
I'm glad about that. I'm so happy you came in. This has been an amazing episode.
This is probably my favorite so far. We had such good laughs, and you bring such good vibes. I love it. Thank you so much.
This is we're friends. For the vibes, she's a great person. I love her. Thank you so much for coming in.
Oh, thank you for having me. Thank you for listening. Sorry for crying. But it just goes to show how comfortable I am with you guys. And I think what you're doing is so cool. It's needed. And like I said, we need more Latinas. We need more bilingual human beings to advocate for everyone else and advocate for the ones who are the ones receiving the information. So more power to you.
What I think we really need is more people that are just as enthusiastic and energetic as you. Yes. Especially with the new people that are coming in, and maybe even the older generation who are burnt out. I'm so happy you came. I'm so happy you spoke about your experience and your upbeat attitude. It's amazing. I love it. It made me smile. Yeah, it made me smile this whole episode. So thank you again.
Of course. Thank you, guys.
Alright guys, thank you guys so much for watching. Please subscribe, share this with your friends and family. Listen to us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And we'll see you guys next time. Bye.
Bye.